The late 1950s, an era of gleaming post-war optimism and scientific hubris, concealed a terrifying vulnerability. This is the story of how a single, deceptively simple chemical compound, hailed as a miracle, became the silent, invisible killer that infiltrated nurseries around the world, stealing the limbs of a generation. This is the true and harrowing history of thalidomide, the pharmaceutical apocalypse. The whispers of a perfect peace, the German deception. The nightmare began in the immaculate laboratories of Chemie Grunenthal in West Germany. In 1957, they released thalidomide onto a world desperate for sleep. Competing sedatives like barbiturates carried the grim risk of fatal overdose, making them common tools of suicide. Thalidomide offered the ultimate promise: absolute safety. The marketing was masterful, a symphony of serenity and confidence. A drug so safe you can eat handfuls, they claimed. The pharmaceutical narrative assured doctors and the public that the molecule was benign, merely a gentle lullaby. The drug became an immediate international sensation, spreading across 46 countries under dozens of names: Contergan, Distaval, etc. It was cheap, readily available, and often sold over the counter. Soon, the drug moved from the bedside table to the most sacred of all spaces, the pregnant woman's nightstand. The drug became an immediate international sensation, spreading across 46 countries under dozens of names: Contergan, Distaval, etc. It was cheap, readily available, and often sold over the counter. Soon, the drug moved from the bedside table to the most sacred of all spaces, the pregnant woman's nightstand. The fatal transition. Doctors, observing its profound anti-nausea effects, began prescribing thalidomide for hyperemesis gravidarum, severe morning sickness. For millions of pregnant mothers, worn out by constant vomiting and unable to sleep, thalidomide was the gift of peace, the chance to finally rest and nourish their bodies. They trusted the doctors trusted the company trusted a lack of rigorous testing. This chain of blind faith became a scaffold for disaster. The critical window: molecular assassination of the embryo. The true, horrifying nature of thalidomide lay in its unique ability to cross the placental barrier, an invisible molecular wall previously thought to be impenetrable to most drugs. Once across, the molecule went to work with lethal precision on the most vulnerable of targets, the rapidly differentiating cells of the embryo. The mechanism of terror: scientific fact. Thalidomide's toxicity is rooted in its interaction with the protein cereblon, CRBN. By binding to cereblon, thalidomide effectively sabotages the body's natural regulatory systems, leading to the rapid degradation of a protein essential for limb development, Sol4. Furthermore, it is a potent anti-angiogenic agent, starving the embryonic tissue of the blood vessels required for growth. The result was cellular carnage, specifically targeting the apical ectodermal ridge, AER, the organizing center for limb formation. The AER was annihilated, and growth was instantly halted. The precision of the crime: the destruction was not random, it was chronological. On day 20 to 24 post-conception, a single pill seals the fate of the external ears, leaving children deaf or severely malformed. On day 24 to 27, the pill destroys the genetic blueprint for the arms, resulting in Phocomelia, flapper-like limbs, or total amelia, absence of limbs. On day 30 to 36, the legs and feet are ravaged, leaving survivors unable to walk or stand. The tragedy was that a single, seemingly benign tablet, taken when a woman often didn't even realize she was pregnant, possessed a 50 to 80% chance of inflicting lifelong mutilation. The harvest of the crippled, a global crisis. The first whispers of the horror began in 1960. A German pediatrician, Dr. Wittekind Lenz, noticed the unprecedented cluster of babies with Phocomelia, a birth defect so rare it was statistically impossible to see this many cases by chance. Simultaneously, in Australia, Dr. William McBride alerted authorities after observing the same pattern among mothers he had prescribed Distaval, Thalidomide. The truth was an avalanche. The global Cali, hospitals became silent wards of the grotesque. The world witnessed the birth of the thalidomide generation. An estimated 10,000 to 20,000 children across Europe, Asia, and the Commonwealth were born profoundly disfigured. Corporate denial. Grunenthal, initially confronted, attempted to bury the evidence, dismissing the doctor's findings as coincidental and trying to intimidate those who spoke out. They continued selling the drug for months after the medical link was established, prioritizing profit over human life. The drug was finally withdrawn in late 1961, but the damage was done. For many survivors, the physical horror was compounded by the societal response. They faced institutionalization, discrimination, and the lifelong burden of navigating a world not built for them. The heroine at the gate, Dr. Frances Oldham Kelsey. As the horror unfolded across the Atlantic, the United States stood at the precipice. The William S. Merrill Company was aggressively pushing its thalidomide application, Kefauver, through the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. It landed on the desk of Dr. Frances Oldham Kelsey, a newly recruited pharmacologist with a deep understanding of toxicology. The unyielding skeptic, Dr. Kelsey refused to be rushed. She cited a critical lack of data on the drug's safety for prolonged use and, most tellingly, its potential effect on the fetus, a concern that was prophetic. She demanded proof of safety, not just unsubstantiated claims. The war of attrition. Merrill launched a relentless campaign of corporate pressure. They called her superiors, accused her of bureaucratic incompetence, and hired aggressive lawyers, demanding automatic approval after the 60-day review deadline. Dr. Kelsey repeatedly sent the application back, demanding more evidence, thus resetting the clock and holding the line against the pharmaceutical behemoth. She stood alone, a solitary figure against overwhelming corporate and internal political pressure until the international scandal finally broke into the American press in 1962. She was vindicated. Dr. Kelsey's courage averted a catastrophe of unimaginable scale. Only a few dozen thalidomide-affected births occurred in the United States, primarily from unmonitored clinical samples the company had distributed without FDA oversight. She saved thousands of American children from a lifetime of Phocomelia. The lingering shadow, a legacy of pain. The thalidomide survivors, now in their 60s, continue to live with the excruciating consequences of that safe pill. Secondary disabilities. Decades of compensating for their missing limbs using shoulders for hands, feet for manipulation, have caused severe premature degradation of their joints, leading to chronic, debilitating pain and early dependency on wheelchairs. Justice denied. The fight for adequate compensation from the responsible companies dragged on for decades, prolonging the emotional and financial suffering of the survivors and their families. The thalidomide tragedy remains a stark, terrifying monument to the fundamental vulnerability of life. It established the bedrock principle of modern drug regulation. A drug must prove its innocence before it is allowed to enter the stream of human existence.